Does your dog have confidence issues? Let's talk about it. So I'm super curious.
Oh boy.
I have a year-old puppy, Swedish Valhund puppy, who was born into my hands and
With a bite history.
that's actually part of this. Who was born into my hands. He was a singleton puppy raised by me. He's kept in his home with his mother. And I think we are working on a little bit of a confidence issue. So what I see is, for people who don't know, my little breed, the Swedish Valhund, is a herding dog that is naturally vocal to move their stock around. And so they also are alert to their environment. But his choice of reaction is to bark at stuff that he knows, stuff that what I'm interpreting is overstimulated, his go-to is to bark. And you've seen me work with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you have thoughts. So I'm wondering what your thoughts are. How would you have me build confidence differently in my puppy than maybe I've tried?
Well, first of all, I would say his age is definitely, he's going through something at 12 months, just turning 12 months. So typical. But he's always been vocal. And his body language tells you a lot when he enters a new situation. Sometimes he's just super excited and I'm here, everybody, which is a lot of dogs.
Mm-hmm.
They're happily overstimulated. That doesn't mean that's the state of mind you want to start working with him. But sometimes he does come in and the tenor is different. But to be fair to you, you have tried redirecting. You have tried space a little bit. But his, the Valhund's biggest challenge as a group is to do still behaviors and learning to be calm and still. So I'm not going to say that that's actually your ticket to make it work, but having his job be waiting for your next, waiting for what's next when he comes out and he starts barking. So, maybe a down, maybe center. I was thinking of that the other day when he came in. Teaching center is where he goes and looks for instructions when he's feeling a little bit overwhelmed, and it comes out as, machine gun barking.
Yeah, and I think I hadn't thought about that one. That's a good one. I think
only because he wants to live in your skin.
Yeah,
like
totally. That's
so
exactly where I was going to go. Yeah, no, I think that's super. I think it's an interesting point because my dogs do. I tend to make them codependent, so I will again be under that bus. But by nature, herding breeds and these dogs would love to live inside of your body if they could. So making him closer to me might actually give him the physical confidence. But I think it's interesting because as I've watched him grow and tried to be critical, for context, Shannon also watched me raise his mother as a puppy who was very different, very other end of the spectrum. She was very thinky. The very first time we brought her to a group with other humans and dogs, it took her an hour and a half to decide to come out from behind me. And she wasn't pushed. She was just allowed to take that time. This is not this puppy. So I'm used to seeing, and we see a lot of lack of confidence in our client dogs as shy behavior or reserved behavior. But we also see that as the somewhat barky, lungy behavior too, and jumping on people.
If you were to videotape him, you would find it if I was to videotape you with him entering a space that he has big feelings about, as we say, yes, he lunges a little bit forward, but it's never a tight leash, and you've worked really hard on your bond with him and behaviors. He always goes out a little bit and comes right back to you, and goes out a little bit and comes right back to you. So I think giving him more direction and having that be rewarding to be back to you, maybe the start, and giving him a little bit more confidence in that situation.
And I think my usual things, like I think you and I use things like nose work to help improve confidence, exposure to things to improve confidence. He's the first dog I've actually tried what you suggested the first time, which was work on more still behaviors. So I put him in a down with food, and I feed him for being in the down and looking around at the environment and not barking. And he stays in the down and he's able to absorb that. The problem I'm having now is as soon as he's standing, it's not even moving. As soon as he's on his feet, he starts to like kind of get over it again. And
which in my opinion means he's simply not ready for the transition.
Yeah. But it's interesting. I mean, I think a lot of our clients deal with this too, is it's certainly, I think his age, agreed, is playing into it. But we often try and, even to ourselves, have a panacea of, oh, they just need more time in nature. They just need nose work. They just need more exposure. They just need to be redirected. They just need space. All things that we do to improve confidence in dogs. And sometimes you have to take the step back and say, like my dogs get a ton of off-leash time in nature almost every day, 3 to 5 miles a day. They get to run around the woods and be dogs. It's not more time in nature that my dogs need. I am very privileged that I can provide that for my dogs. My dogs don't need more food reward. They get a lot of food reward. But Shannon's right that all of my dogs, maybe not Poco, but most of my dogs have a hard time with still behaviors. Shocking. I also have time with still behaviors. But it's interesting to have a dog who's maybe unsureness about situations comes out as that more forward, what we often see in Labradors or Retrievers or a lot of the Doodles. Their lack of confidence or unsureness about a situation often also comes out as that
obnoxious ADHD child.
Yeah, and you know, my puppy is can be a little bit of the obnoxious ADHD child. He's happy, and as we tell all the people who have dogs like this, I'll take happy every day of the week. But it doesn't mean that he's not unsure. And I think you and I read it that way. I'm not sure other people read it that way. If that makes sense.
I think it depends on your results. So as we've talked about, you know, the happy, exuberant, doodle type dog that comes into a situation, whether it's the vet clinic or it's coming to boarding or grooming or even like a social situation, and the owner's like, it's, you know, they're so good at home, but as soon as we go out in public, they jump on everybody.
He's really good at home, Shannon.
He's really good at home. And the more I watch some of these dogs, the more it is actually not, you know, yes, it's lack of guidance for a lot of them, but the dogs are actually not comfortable.
Yeah.
It's just coming out in a different way. So you're, you know, jumping all over the counters and you're jumping on people and you're, you know, you cannot sit still and you can't make eye contact with your owner and you can't be redirected with food and you can't, like, you until the dog gets a bunch of space away from it, and it still takes it several minutes to focus. That's
sometimes more is not better. It's
more
just
is not better. It's just more. And so giving your dog the space and something else is what they need.
Yeah.
And so to wrap up your question about short stack, when I see him in your little pack of 3, his body wants to be closer to you sometimes than anybody else when he's in a comfortable state. So maybe, you know, as you suss the training things out, working more in the center and squeezing him a little bit with your whatever's close to him, your calves. I was going to say your thighs, but you don't have a tall dog.
He's not that tall.
You know, squeezing him a little bit more and not rocking him back and forth in a playful manner and getting him to give you eye contact and moving forward when he's ready. You know, I've actually started that with my little curly Lachenwah Malinois dog and giving her that physical context and then, you know, walking forward with her in the center and stuff puts her little nervousness at ease.
Nice. Well, I've learned something today. I hope you guys have too. And if you'd like to learn more, feel free to reach out to us at Cascade Pet Camp.